Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the smartest guy in the room. I'm your host, Jerry Dempsey, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Matthew Otis John Smith.
Happy Saturday, Jerry.
How was that for an intro?
Dynamite.
Can you live up to that hype?
I can't live up to much, man.
How's life?
It's all right. I'm in this weird melancholia. I don't know if it's the end of summer blues or what, but I always got this feeling when I was a kid, when school started approaching, and I don't know. It's a weird feeling. It's like that same feeling you get when you were a kid and there was only 3 television stations, and your parents would be watching 60 Minutes, and you would hear that minute watch click, and
I hated that.
Everyone from our generation hated that because that was like the countdown to school.
Yeah. It's interesting how you connect those dots. I hated it because I knew it was just going to be boring, but then I would get happy because outside and play, which when we were kids, that wasn't really a choice. It was just what you did, right? Yeah. I mean, Saturday mornings for us, we had jobs. Like I would deliver newspapers, and then I'd have to clean one part of the house. And because I've always been an early riser, I would do my fucking work by like 8 a.m, and then I would be gone, like outside doing whatever, and I wouldn't come back till whenever I could.
Well, it's not only that, we weren't allowed in the house. My mother did not allow us to stay in the house.
Yeah, I remember that.
So she didn't care where we were, who we were with, as long as we weren't in the house. And it's backwards now. It's the opposite now.
You look like you are in the backdrop of shooting some kind of U2 video.
Yeah, that's when I took the photo, that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of like the video from Zombie by the Cranberries.
Is that where the street has no name?
Oh, fuck.
So, hey, today, we're on a journey, as everyone knows. I'm going to give a plug real quick. I have some T-shirts I want to give away. So if you're listening and you want a T-shirt, email me at jerrywdempsey, 1, @gmail.com, and I will send you. This is while supplies last, folks, so get on it quick. And it's Jerry with a G, so don't put a fucking J, or I will not send you a T-shirt. And I'll also try to choke you if I ever see you. Anyway, that's the plug. But today we are talking about being stupid. We're going to kind of flip the tables, as they say. And, let's face it. Most of us are pretty fucking dumb. And I'll make a general statement that, unfortunately, we all have brains. But I think it's like learning how to drive. If you don't learn how to use your brain, you're probably destined to be a stupid idiot your whole life.
Finally, an issue. Finally, a topic I'm an expert on. Stupidity.
Yeah. And tell me more. Have you done research?
I've done. I've done more trial. Not so much research, but trial.
Experimentation. That's good.
Experimentation. It's weird though. Like I always did things for laughs, or did things to prove someone wrong. And every time I did something epically stupid, I can remember my sister once when we were young. There was construction going on at my house, and there was a board with a nail sticking out of it. And my sister stepped on it and she started crying. And I was like, I was appalled at the way she was carrying on. So I went over to the board and I took my sneaker and sock off And I'm like, that doesn't hurt. Watch. And I literally stomped on the nail sticking out of the board, and it went right through my foot, into my heel. And
Ouch.
I went ballistic, and we both had to get tetanus shots.
Tetanus shots, yeah. Fuck.
So, and then the other epically dumb thing I did, I did so much, but like the one that stands out in my mind was there was this annoying kid that we used to work with at the supermarket where I worked, and he just got a new motorcycle, and he was showing off, and then he parked his motorcycle and he went into the store to go pick up his paycheck. And he kept talking about how his new helmet, it was really cool. It was purple and it was sparkly. So we went into the store. I strapped the helmet on, and I ran headfirst into the brick wall outside.
Awesome.
Completely not realizing that could have like broke my back, but
Your neck,
I was a teenager. The helmet split down the middle.
Awesome.
It split from one end to the other, and it was like a $300 helmet, and this is like in 1980s money. And my friend he was like, "Dude, you just broke the helmet." And I looked, and it was like it split in half. Like you had to press the sides back together. So we gingerly put it on the bike seat, like he left it, thinking he wouldn't notice. And in the meantime, I had like a severe concussion.
I'll bet.
I had to go home. I couldn't work for like 3 days.
Yikes. Fucked up.
So yeah, stupidity. I'm an expert.
Yeah, I did a lot of dumb things. One that sticks out in my mind was I was riding my bike, and I was barefoot. So that's not that dumb, but it's pretty dumb. And I started bouncing my toes. I was driving kind of fast, and I was bouncing my toes off the spokes, like on the closer side to me of the fork. The next thing I knew, my leg got dragged in between the spokes and the fork. And not only did that fucking hell, but then my bike flipped over. So I went head over heels and smashed down on the concrete.
Oh, I remember the bike flips. I mean, Jesus, those were brutal. Yeah. But see, don't you think there's a different kind of stupid nowadays?
Like, in what sense?
What we're describing is we just did stupid things.
Right.
But like, my brother was talking about this recently about how, there seems to be a backlash against intelligence and intellect and nowadays, and there's more information than ever out there, and it just seems that the masses are dumber.
Yeah,
I think you're seeing a lot of that with this vaccination debate. I mean, to me, I don't want to go political, but to me, people are either going to get vaccinated or they're not. But then you go on social media and you see some of the dialogue surrounding the debate.
Right.
And it's the kookiest shit, And I think that the problem is that people aren't consuming information or news anymore to be informed. They're consuming information and news so that they can have their positions or opinions or politics validated. There's a shift, and I think it's just making society dumber.
Is that something I read about, something called confirmation bias, where you already have a preconceived notion for whatever reason, and then you will look for data and information that supports what you already believe in versus trying to find things to test your own hypothesis or even, refute what you might just anecdotally believe for whatever reason. Maybe just a political disposition, or it could be, well, my wife thinks that way and I want to think like my wife, so I will go along. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's going on. But I guess my question is, and it has always been, where's the value in that? Like I'm, if you have to pick a side for me, I'm definitely on the left, more so than I'm on the right. But because I'm on the left, I don't watch like MSNBC or things like that because I don't need to. I don't need a bunch of. I don't believe in preaching to the choir. I'm more interested. I'll watch Fox or I'll watch Newsmax as a member of the left because I want to know I want to know like what the other side is up to, how the other side is approaching issues. You know, I don't get the validate. I don't get why you want your opinion validated. I don't see the value in that.
Well, in my vast amount of research, this is like one of those old grandpa things, dad, mom things.
What do you
But
mean?
they'd say an empty can rattles the loudest, which just means dumb people with their opinions love to talk and hear themselves talk and be validated. And again, they could be educated dumb people. Those are kind of the worst because they'll flash their PhD at you and you're supposed to be in awe of it. And then you listen to them or they don't have any real practical like living knowledge. And I don't mean survival like Bear Grylls, like eating fucking the ass out of a deer or something to survive. But I mean just fucking like common sense, which seems to be waning these days, right?
Uh-huh.
I also read somewhere like it's not that this was a quote I read and I don't know who said it, but it sounded funny. But this person said basically it's not that people are dumber, it's just that more dumb people have access to have their voices heard.
Well,
and I thought that was interesting.
I think that's absolutely correct, and I think that in a way we're saying the same thing in different ways. But yeah, I would buy into that. I was reading the story today about some dude in Mississippi and who just died, and he was dead. You know, he was an ardent anti-vaxxer, and again, I think the vaccination, I have a position on it, but it's ultimately it's a choice. So I don't want to go down that road. But the moral of this story is the guy was an anti-vaxxer and he got sick with COVID. And instead of, going to the hospital or whatever, he went to the local feed store and he bought some type of, I don't know, a farm insecticide or something like that and ate it and died. Now,
well, he won't get COVID.
I mean, now I'm not a farmer. I know nothing about agriculture, but I know that there's chemicals in a lot of that shit, and that's what the guy died of. He basically poisoned himself to death.
But I mean, listen, I drive by McDonald's and I see obese people lining up, to get even fatter. Okay. I don't mean to pick on McDonald's, but their food is pretty damn awful. So no one's bitching about them.
Oh, right? I see people bitching about them all the time.
Well, and you know what? I'm okay with that because they are hurting themselves and it's sad to watch. So, I got vaxxed. I try to only take a position if there's common sense, and I try to take it from an independent point of view.
Right.
But, these news outlets, and again, I don't give a shit if they're right wing, left wing. I don't care if it's fucking Bill O'Reilly or the ghost of Rush Limbaugh. A lot of them just exist to stir the fucking pot and denigrate the other guy. And when I hear that, I don't care who's saying it. It's irritating, at least to me. So, I mean, I watch financial news because I like to see what's going on in the business market. It seems to me at least a little more real. And they tend to have less dialogue about like the Kardashians or, who somebody is sleeping with or how many people Trump's grabbed by the fucking cunt,
Well, I mean,
probably have to delete that word.
Not in England, no. I mean, that problem there is everything gets lumped in under the umbrella of media, and the media is not necessarily journalism. So, I mean,
right.
Tucker Carlson and Rachel Maddow and all those people on at night. It's the media, but it's not journalism. It's not news. It's those people are selling ads.
All right, well, let's steer back to some of the meat of what I was looking for. So I did a little bit of research, and you know, like you and I dabble in the Stoicism and the ancient Greek philosophers a little bit, like the memento mori kind of philosophy of you could leave this earth right now. So, like, are you helping people, or what the fuck have you done with your life? And I like sticking to that kind of guideline as I live. But did you know that the Greeks had a god of stupidity?
Really? Was it?
Yeah, I researched this heavily. Went to the library. I didn't. Kolamos. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's Koal Mos. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. How can we never hear about it?
What's that?
How can we never hear about him? We hear about like the god of thunder and all those other people.
You know, that's interesting. Well, they don't even, the more I started getting into Stoicism a few years ago. I've always heard about it. You know, you hear things, Plato and all these other guys, right? But as a general education point of view, there's two things that don't get taught in high school or college unless you take the courses specifically, but finance and like business math. And I know you hate math as anybody should, because it's fucking evil. But like in my professional career, I worked with a lot of smart computer science nerds, that with all respect, really smart people. A lot of them aren't very socially adept, we'll say. And what I also notice is people have buckets of intelligence that don't transcend the whole spectrum of, from emotional intelligence to book smart to street smart, which I have none of those. But like, I'm aware of them, right? So awareness, like G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle or something like that.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
But
yeah, and I think that's really, though, I like the way you put it, buckets of intelligence, because I always feel that I have a lot of empty buckets,
Mm-hmm. But I mean, do you care to fill any of them?
I do, but there's some I know that I just never will, and then there's some that I try to fill. But a lot of times I feel like I'm going through life faking it because I have so many empty buckets.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much because one, I've spent a great deal of time acting really dumb just to either annoy people I don't like or just to get them to leave me the fuck alone and not ask me so many dumb questions. You know what I mean? Because I found that being a shining light of intelligence, or at least a possessor of knowledge, weird people will start to bother you and eat up your time, which again, we've covered this in past episodes. Our time is the only thing we really fucking have, along with our health, that really matter. They're the only things that fucking we should give a shit about, right? Like that guy that doesn't give a fuck about a lot. He wrote a book. I learned that, I think, from him. But when people waste your time, and I think you just wrote an article about someone wasting your time and you were very concerned, but you ended up enjoying the time.
Right.
That was a good story, actually. I read that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't have the same problem. People aren't demanding my shining light of intelligence, but but I totally agree with what you're saying about the concept that the only thing that we really have is time.
Yeah. I mean, it really is the only thing of value, right? Money is fake. I just listened to a podcast where they were talking about Bitcoin, and it was interesting the way the man phrases, a finance guy, like a big Bitcoin trader now. And he was saying how people are disillusioned by fiat money, and that's just currency tied to a nation, right? Like the United States dollar and all this other crap. Because, you make a sacrifice with your time, whether it's to your job, whether it's to an investment, whether it's to buying real estate, or even, if you're giving money to a nonprofit. That money is, to most people, is a representation of our time that we have sacrificed for a greater good. And again, for our own personal gain, obviously, but to have a life and be a contributor in society. And this guy was saying how when, the dollar drops or prices of goods go up, the average person is getting fucked by like central bank and World Bank, market manipulators. And that's why we hate bankers so much, in case you're wondering, because they are dicks. I wasn't really sure where I was going with that, so I had to end it.
Well, you talk about an empty bucket. I try to watch the financial news, and because I agree with you that it is like one of the only things that's real. But I don't understand it. That's another empty bucket I have.
But that doesn't mean that someone has the fucking right to take advantage of you. And that's where, to me, these institutional investors, whether they're hedge funds or some other fucking too big to fail giant, Goldman Sachs or whoever, I mean, they're laughing all the way to the fucking bank when the average person is getting it up the ass.
Yeah.
And it is frustrating, So it
So
doesn't, and I'm smart enough to know that, to a large degree, even though the system, like, it's hard to think of a better system that would actually work. Like these socialism, communism ideas, they look great on paper, but people love power, they love authority, especially dumb people. Because you give a dumb person some authority, they are fucking off and running. You need I read this book that basically said people with high IQs tend to not be successful. Almost like you can almost guarantee that if you win the Heisman Trophy, you will blow up like Johnny Football.
Yeah.
But middle of the road intelligence people, because they end up working harder because they have something, they just maybe have a good work ethic or I don't know, or try harder, tend to do better. So I'm glad that I probably have average intelligence myself.
They probably have more confidence too.
Well, when you achieve more and you've done the work yourself, you think of anything you've done in your life, Matt, that you're proud of, right? I immediately think of I've ran a bunch of marathons, and I hated running. I played freshman soccer at our high school, and I used to hide during the laps behind this tree. And when the team would run around the second time, I'd just kind of come out from the tree and start running behind them. Because I was a fat kid and I hated running. And then,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to finish it by saying, so, I was like 13, 14, freshman year, whatever age you are. So in 10 years, to say that I would run a 26-mile marathon was, that wasn't even like a concept that was fathomable for me. So, I mean, do I get confidence from it? What I got from it is if I put my mind to something, I know I could fucking do it within reason. I don't know. You have to have a few things like that, don't you?
Well, I found you smarter when you were hiding behind a tree.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
It was a great idea. So, I think that's a great idea. Running is awful and evil, and it's the math of exercise in my mind. So I give you props for, you have to have some intelligence to think about like where you're going to hide when the whole entire team is running a lap.
How do I get out of this job?
And not be seen. And then when they pass that tree, you morph back into the group like you've been running with. That's brilliant. Running a marathon, 26 miles. That's stupid, man.
It was dumb.
I give you props, but
no, I could have died. I was like severely dehydrated and whatnot, so yeah. It was pretty dumb.
Man, I was in Texas last week. Talk about hydrated or dehydrated. It was like 111 degrees there, and I really liked it. I like the heat, but I sweated so much while I was there. Every afternoon I would take like a 2.5 hour nap because I was just so drained. And there was a point we were walking around some neighborhood my son used to live in. He was showing us in Houston Heights, and it felt like I couldn't go on. And I like really entertained just laying down in the middle of the street and dying.
Isn't Houston where like the fattest population in the United States is in Houston or something of that nature?
You know, I've read that before, and if so, I'm impressed because I was sweating like you fucking read about, man. I was sweating like Jesus, as my daughter says, and
like a whore in church.
I don't know. Maybe it's because they sweat so much they're just loading calories in their mouth, you know. But
you have to carbo load. Yeah.
What killed me is I'd see some of these guys walking around. I don't know if they lived there their whole life, but they had like dress shirts on and ties and those like skinny tight dress pants that people wear now, and they looked so put together. And I had like a t-shirt on and shorts, and I was fucking drenched. So I didn't see many fat people.
It's fucking crazy, dude. I've never been to Houston.
I really like Texas. It's a really weird state, man.
I liked Nashville. There was a lot of wacky people there.
Yeah.
And I'd never experienced the city before, but I definitely want to do a little more traveling because Raleigh, it's a nice place, but it's boring.
Yeah. So same with Albany.
I could tell anybody.
Same with Albany. They call Albany Smallbany.
Yeah, I've heard that. I partied in Albany one time, but I was with a bunch of my work buddies, so we kind of bring our own party.
You can have fun here, but you know, after 20 years, I kind of feel like I've done it all. But I want to read a quote on stupidity from one of my favorite writers. Charles Bukowski said, "The problem with the world is that the intelligent people are full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence."
I love it. Well, I'm going to read one from this guy named Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does.
That's perfect.
Yep. So we can wrap it up, but I did want to leave one note for everybody. I'm looking for our favorite listeners to donate. Now, Matt and I, you know, we're both well-heeled travelers, as they call us. But we'd like to just see, you know, who's a loyal fan. Go to the Apple, when you're listening to the Apple podcast, which 98% of you guys out there are listening to a application. It's not just an app. That's short for application. But give us $1 or $2, and we would love to. We'll donate it, or we'll just go get with it. But either way, show us some solidarity. We'd love it. We love our following. We want to keep bringing you guys funny content, hopefully a little bit interesting. I'm going to leave it on this note, Matt. The dumbest thing, I think, and I kind of made this up myself, but everyone else says it too, so who cares, is when you don't learn from your own stupid fucking mistakes. Like, that is the ultimate idiot in my book. Like, you make the mistake, you paid for it, learn from it. That's it. Because I never do that, but you should.
And that advice is coming, ladies and gentlemen, from a guy who's wearing a t-shirt that says "Genius" with a photo of Goofy on it from Disney World.
Always know when you're being ironic, because you know how much I hate Disney.
Irony is always lost on the guilty people, Jerry.
I love it. I am very guilty.
You know who said that?
No.
I did.
I love it. John
Otis.
Matthew Smith, the original.
All right, man.
Have a great weekend, brother.
Stay free.
You too. Bye.